Right now, loneliness is being called an epidemic. Doctors say it's as damaging as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15 cigarettes, every single day. Governments are appointing ministers of loneliness. This is happening now, in a world where you can reach anyone on the planet, in seconds. So here's what nobody stops to ask. What did ancient humans do when loneliness hit? They had no phone to stare at, no city full of strangers, no therapist, just each other. The question isn't just how they coped, it's why your body still reacts to loneliness the way it does. What is that pain? Where did it come from? And what was it originally designed to do? The neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent decades studying loneliness. His conclusion was blunt. Loneliness isn't a weakness, it's an alarm. It evolved for the same reason hunger and pain evolved, to keep you alive. For your ancestors, being cut off from the group wasn't sad, it was fatal. No shelter alone, no hunt alone, no protection alone. An isolated human on the African savanna was, in the most literal biological sense, already dead. So your brain built in a warning system. When you drift too far from the people you depend on, something inside you starts to scream. That feeling, the ache of being alone, is not a flaw in your design. It is your design. The question is what your ancestors actually did about it. There was no such thing as productive solitude in the ancient world, not for long. Hunter-gatherer bands typically moved in groups of around 20 to 50 people. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone depended on everyone. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm, who spent decades studying these societies, found that when someone started pulling away from the group, behaving selfishly, refusing to cooperate, becoming a social liability, the response was immediate and escalating. First, ridicule, then silence, then exclusion. Then, in extreme cases, permanent banishment. Think about what banishment meant. No shared fire, no shared food, no one to watch your back at night. Modern solitary confinement is considered one of the most psychologically destructive punishments we have. For your ancestors, being cast out wasn't a punishment handed down by a court. It was a quiet sentence of death delivered by the people you had grown up with. This is why your body reacts to social rejection the way it does. Brain imaging studies show that social exclusion activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. The same regions light up. The same chemicals release. Because for most of human history, being rejected by the group and being physically injured were equally dangerous outcomes. Your brain never learned to tell the difference. It still hasn't. Long before language existed, your ancestors had a different tool for fighting loneliness. Their hands. Robin Dunbar, an evolutionary psychologist at the University of Oxford, spent years studying primate social behavior. His finding was deceptively simple. Primates bond through physical grooming. They pick through each other's fur, remove parasites, touch each other for hours. It releases endorphins, the same chemicals behind a runner's high. It lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. It is, neurochemically speaking, one of the most effective mood regulators in the primate toolkit. Your ancestors did the same thing. Before large social groups existed, before complex language existed, physical contact was how early humans told each other, you are not alone, you are known, you are safe here. But there was a problem. As human groups grew larger, from small bands to wider networks, one-on-one grooming couldn't scale. You only have two hands. You can only groom one person at a time. Dunbar calculated that if early humans had tried to maintain all their social bonds through physical touch alone, they would have needed to spend nearly half their waking hours doing nothing but grooming. That left no time to eat, hunt, or survive. So they found a replacement. Language, Dunbar's argument, laid out in his 1996 book, Grooming, Gossip, and the Evolution of Language, is that human speech evolved not primarily to coordinate hunts or discuss strategy. It evolved to do what grooming did, but faster and for more people at once. You can talk to 3 people simultaneously. You can make someone feel seen and valued from across a fire. Language was, at its origin, a loneliness cure that could run at scale. The next time you call someone just to hear their voice, you're doing exactly what your species evolved to do. Here's what the campfire actually was. It wasn't just warmth, it wasn't just light, it was the original social infrastructure of your species. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She had spent years recording conversations among the Juhwanzi Bushmen of the Kalahari, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to the original human pattern. What she found was a clean, consistent split. During the day, roughly 80% of conversations were practical. Where are the animals? Who isn't pulling their weight? What needs to get done? Functional, efficient, often tense. But at night, around the fire, 81% of conversations shifted completely. Stories, myths about distant people, tales of things that had happened to someone's grandfather, jokes that made the whole group laugh at once, shared imagination about things that didn't exist yet. Wisner called the fire the original television, but that undersells it. Television is passive. The campfire was interactive. It was the moment of the day when everyone's guard came down, when conflicts dissolved, when the group remembered why it was a group, when someone who had felt invisible during the day became visible again in the firelight. And here's the part that matters. This wasn't entertainment, it was maintenance. Every story told around a fire was also a reminder, you belong here. These are your people. You are not alone in the dark. Around 34,000 years ago, at a site called Sunghir in what is now Russia, someone died, and the people left behind did something extraordinary. They dressed the body in thousands of ivory beads. Researchers counted more than 13,000 on a single burial. They laid mammoth ivory spears alongside the body. They placed the remains of other community members nearby. They created a grave so deliberate, so layered with meaning, that archaeologists still debate exactly what it signifies. But one thing is clear, these people were not simply disposing of the dead, they were holding on. At Skul and Kafsa in Israel, ritual burials date back 100,000 years. The bodies are positioned with care, objects are placed alongside them. The living chose to bury their dead in the same places where they lived, in the spaces of daily life, rather than somewhere removed and separate. This is not just ceremony, this is an answer to loneliness. When someone you depend on disappears from your band, the absence is physical, the sound of their voice is gone, their smell is gone, the weight of their presence in your group is gone. Your ancestors found a way to resist that. They kept the body, they marked the place, they returned to it. The dead remained part of the group even after they could no longer contribute to it. Grief, for your ancestors, was not something you moved through alone and in private. It was performed together, which is to say, the oldest human cure for the pain of absence was the same as the cure for every other kind of loneliness, other people. Today, you can spend an entire day without touching another human being. You can work, eat, commute, and sleep having exchanged nothing but text on a screen, and at the end of that day, your body will tell you something is wrong. The same alarm Cacioppo described, firing the same way it fired on the savannah. Only now there is no band to return to, no fire to sit beside, no one to press a hand against your shoulder and release the endorphins your nervous system was built around. Your ancestors dealt with loneliness by making it structurally impossible to be alone for long. The group was small enough that your absence was noticed. The fire demanded that everyone show up. The stories required an audience. The grief required witnesses. We built cities of millions and somehow made it easier to disappear. Somewhere deep in your nervous system, the ancient alarm is still running. It was never switched off. It kept your ancestors alive through 2 million years of dark nights and dangerous mornings. It is the reason you feel something when someone finally sits beside you after a long stretch of solitude. The reason a voice on the other end of the line can physically slow your heart rate. You did not evolve to be alone. Not for an hour, not for a day, not for a life. The fire is still waiting. So are the people around it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And join us for more ancient history videos explained through simple visuals and brought to life one story at a time. See you next time.